there, folks. How you doing today? Hope you're having an awesome day. Well, got this one in the mail today. This was an eBay pickup. It's a rainy, yucky day today, so this is going to be today's project knife. And needs a real good cleaning. You can see some rust down in the nail nick. But if we can make it out, it is Uncle Henry LB7, made in the USA. And can't quite see. It looks like it's a Schrade Plus, so it should be stainless steel. But even stainless will rust. But it could be this was stored in a box somewhere with some non-stainless metal materials and picked up a lot of rust from those. But, geez, pretty scratchy. Lockup is still really good. Everything else looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit off the back of the spring there, but that could have been factory too. But oh, the rust out of that channel. So this will be today's cleanup project. Blade still has lots of meat on it. Even a little bit of an edge, but it saw some grinder time, unfortunately. Always hate to see that. Got a chip in the edge here. Reprofile that. All in all, the blade isn't in horrible shape, but definitely gonna have to do some cleanup on that. But this one's mostly going to be a cleanup. Get rid of all that rust, polish up the brass, clean out the channels, small reprofile on the blade, maybe try and get some of that grinder marks out of it. Give her a little polish, but definitely needs a good cleaning. Oh, you can hear that. Definitely needs some love. We're going to do some rust removal on this, and then we're going to give it a good healthy soak in some mineral oil to loosen up all the gunk inside, and then we'll get to cleaning. So check back with me in a bit, or in like 5 seconds, because that's about how long it'll take for the video. So see you then. And just like that, we're back. Here is the finished product. Got a lot more shine to it now. Wood is coming out, popping that nice grain, nice rich colors. Got all the rust off the back spring. Everything nicely polished. And the action works much better now. A little bit of pitting on the blade, particularly around the tank stamp. You can see it much more clearly now. Uncle Henry Schrade Plus LB7 USA. Blade came out pretty good. Got the rust off. Still some marks from use. Soften those grinder marks out a bit. I may revisit those. There was more chipping on the blade than I had thought. There was a good chunk out here and a good chunk out right here. So I had to take a little bit of meat off it. Spent quite a bit of time working on that. She got her snap back. Everything nice and tight. Got a nice good edge on it now. Very pokey tip. See that little, just slightest swedge. Just enough to catch the light. But I think it's looking much better than it did. Enough that it's a fingerprint magnet again. Much smoother action. A little bit of polishing compound that could come off, but it's part of what's catching the fingerprints. But she's looking and working much better than it did before. I managed to get all that rust out of the channel there. There's a bit of scarring, but cleaned out really nice. Nice knife. Feels good in the hand. Very comfortable grip. Well, now that we get it all cleaned up, let's take a peek and compare it to some other knives. So we'll start off with the obvious comparison. And there is a buck 110. So we will say Schrade definitely took some inspiration from the 110. Very, very similar design. This is a 110 that I cleaned up a while back. Very similar, weight's pretty much the same. Blade design, very similar. The grind is much more aggressive, pronounced on the buck. But this knife also hasn't seen the work and the rust that this one did. And here is a Schrade IXL that I cleaned up, limited edition Schrade IXL, Sheffield, England. This was that Alberta Diamond Jubilee knife that came with the covers off. I had to reglue those, and again, very similar. Same basic design, but see some obvious differences in the bolsters and the alignment of the wood. This one shares a little more in common with the buck, I think, except not being rounded off. This is like an older, earlier buck, where everything wasn't nicely rounded off. And got to compare it with another Schrade LB line. Here's the LB3. This was another eBay find that I cleaned up. As you can see there, Schrade Plus USA LB3. So this is not the baby brother, because there's an LB1 that's even smaller than this one, but definitely the junior for sure. But I'm happy with it. I'll do a little more work on the blade. I might try and soften that grinder, those grinder marks up a little bit more. I don't want to remove too much more meat. But those were, it was like 2 weak points in the blade that I wasn't seeing at first. And they just fell away as I was sharpening. I haven't had that happen before, but took some work to get the edge back to where it would cut, because it was just catching every time I tried to cut. But yeah, much better action now, much smoother. Nice snappy lockup. So I'm happy with the outcome, other than it's now a fingerprint magnet. It's annoying when you clean something up and then constantly have to polish it because you cleaned it to the point it just grabs your fingerprints. As far as the cleaning process, I initially attacked it with some rust remover. I didn't leave it set in the rust remover. I just put it in the rust remover to get it good and saturated, took it out, and then took a toothbrush and then just scrubbed all the surfaces with rust. It wasn't a hard toothbrush, it was a soft toothbrush. But just brushed and brushed and brushed away, brushed into the channels, got all of the surface rust off that way. Took a bit of 2000 grit sandpaper into the channels to scrape away any other existing rust. And then took some Neverdull and just cleaned all the surface areas off with that. Cleaned off the dirt, the grime, and got it down to where it was just wood and metal. And then started polishing. Just parked myself in a chair, grabbed a polishing cloth and some compound, and polished away. So took about a couple hours for the cleaning, probably a good hour with the sharpening, just to kind of try and bring that edge back, clean up those chips and nicks. So I'm happy with it. Anyways, folks, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions about the cleaning process I use, drop those in the comments below. And other than that, get yourself out in the woods. Spend some time out there with nature, the trees, the birds, the critters. Just give yourself a good mental reset. If you're having a bad day, it's a great way to clear that up. But if you do, take a knife with you. Might just come in handy. Y'all take care.